Hey everybody, this is Perch. Remember DC Fandome? There's been two of them. They started up in 2000, I think, as a kind of virtual, like, hey, let's try a convention with COVID where there's no conventions, and it in theory should have been a good idea. In reality, I think it was questionable in the first year if it was successful, but pretty questionable, and then in year two it was, definitely felt not successful, and so here we are in 2022, and it's been canceled. And so a letter writer writes in with a theory and some ideas about that. Let's get to it. It says, "Hey Perch, it was announced not too long ago that DC Fandome this year has been canceled for the year. It makes sense to me because all the goings on at WB Discovery and the majority of DC films, Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, Aquaman and Lost Kingdom, The Flash, are being pushed back to 2023. And also, with the future of a bunch of animated series up in the air, as well as no live action series that they could call their flagship series, I don't know of a single person who watches Titans and enjoys it." Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, I wonder if DC is making a bit of a mistake by not doing it all. Personally, I think this is a great opportunity for DC to perhaps do a smaller, scaled back fandom event, just make it one day, but instead of focusing on things like upcoming TV shows, movies, video games, instead put an emphasis on comics. So often we see in DC that unless a book is starring Batman or in some way related to him, it's not going to break the top 50 selling comics. I see this as a golden opportunity to give some much needed platform and promotion to lesser known and overlooked DC titles that could certainly use the attention. You could have viewers submit questions and that the writer and artist could answer and make the readers feel more involved and maybe give them a reason to pick up the title. Wouldn't have to involve much, as I've seen DC put out videos on Twitter promoting some titles, and most of their video involves the writer and artist sitting in front of their laptop monitor and discussing the series. I think it's a potential golden opportunity, and they're blowing it. Is this making any sense, or am I thinking too extravagant for reality? As always, thanks for the video. Hope you're doing well. And there's PS. As I began writing that final sentence, it suddenly occurred to me that it's not so much that DC doesn't want to do this, but rather they most likely have orders from WB Discovery, or maybe they don't. I have no clue about business. So I couldn't tell you for sure, but I'm willing to bet they do have orders from WB Discovery to pull back on marketing events and these kinds of things. They are expensive. They don't have to be, but they're geared to be expensive by their very nature. The people who get involved, the kind of they're used. It's kind of like companies are used to spending money on conventions and marketing, and they forgot that you don't have to spend this kind of money. So they'll go to agencies like, we're going to put this on. We're going to need to start at like 350,000, and you're like, well, you're making some videos that I think I've watched people on YouTube make out the equivalent of their garage, and it seems like that it's not costing them 350,000. But anyway, this is kind of how big companies are wired, and it's I would put very, very firm money that DC was told, hey, we're not going to do these kinds of events, so cancel all the events. Makes sense during an acquisition. You're trying to cut some of these costs. A lot of companies do that. It serves as a reset. In some cases, they cancel conventions and travel for a year, and then when they come back the next year, it kind of people start intentionally being more cost conscious about it, doing it a little bit cheaper, and it creates a nice it's a way to bring down the costs. So I would bet that's what's going on. I think in terms of it being a mistake, I think a lot of the marketing of comics is a horrible mistake. You see this show. This show does not take a lot to do. I'm driving in my car. I'm recording via a Dolby little wireless headphone in my ear and an iPhone. I'm going to get home later. I'm going to throw it into I have the stuff going in Final Cut Pro, which is overpriced. You can probably do it in iMovie just fine. And then, piece it together a couple template things. The whole thing takes about 5 minutes to produce and upload, and it's done. And, DC doesn't want to be going to this crappy bar of quality, but, they have people dedicated to this in marketing who could, as you say, take, interviews, comments from writers. Hell, just getting, time with writers and artists talking about their favorite DC moments, things they like to do, maybe sending a laptop and a camera and some equipment to an artist and say, hey, set this up, and then set it on, time lapse and If you film you drawing a page, we'll give you an extra $100 for that page and the equipment. I mean, this is like, do little things, and you could have pretty amazing multimedia content that you put together. And as you say, get some questions from fans and just start that engagement. Wouldn't take much. A group of a couple people with a little bit of digital skills and some marketing skills could pull this off, and you wouldn't get a fandom like event, but you'd get something more authentic that would probably bring fans in. And I absolutely think, if I would set up a system, and I think it would not be that hard as a company that does this, where every single time you put out a comic, there's a little video goes along with it, like the recap. Here's how we got here. Here's some information from the creative team. A little 2-3 minute video, maybe longer. And it just goes along with every comic. Put a little QR code on the comic. So if you want, you can click on that and take you to the video and just start filling up the coffers with that type of material. It would be easy. And I think it would go over really, really well. And then you're not really doing a single fandom event. You're doing a continuum of just good marketing, good fan outreach. I think that, the temptation, and it's weird because Marvel and DC both do this, is they get creators and they get okay, we got the comic characters. We have, 5 decades, 6 decades worth of comics to deal with, tons of storylines, creative team. What do we want to do? I know, let's get them baking. And you're like, well, hold on, why? Nobody, the audience for this, I mean, may want it once a year as kind of a gag. I mean, I'm not, there's this whole like, oh, they're become a lifestyle company. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having occasional videos of them fucking around, but, but, in between those should be like hundreds of videos about comics. I mean, I find Jason Aaron's Avengers run to be pretty atrocious right now, but what would make me feel better about it is if there was some clips of Jason Aaron going, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm thinking when I make this stuff. Here's some Avengers stories that I enjoyed, that kind of been the inspiration for going into some of these stories. I mean, why not? Get Ed McGuinness in there. Hey, when I was drawing one of the Celestials, I thought it'd be really cool to put it in a mountain. So this is kind of what I thought about, and this is what I do. I mean, I would be into that. I'd be curious. Use it to tease some stuff. Say, hey, about 3 issues from now, we're going to have a pretty cool thing with Moon Knight that you're going to want to check out. It's, I'm writing that now, and you're going to be, I'm trying to do something really exciting, and just that kind of very simple content, drip content, would go a huge way to feeling like it's, healing the bridge, or creating a bridge between fans, customers, and creators. It would take very little effort to do. I've seen in Mark Miller's newsletter, he's like, I'm starting a YouTube channel. Good, you should. It's not hard. People overthink it. In many cases, what the fans want, what the customers want, is just to hear from you. Is just to get kind of a vague sense of what's going on. They don't need a special camera setup. You don't need the lighting. You don't need, you're not trying to be a Logan Paul influencer type person. You're just trying to basically talk about your comic. People are into it. Again, if a show like this one with absolutely crappy production values and everything else can get the subscribers I've got, can get the kind of views I get, we do interviews with people, thousands of people tune in, that's gold for a company. And, you do not, they overthink it. They're like, it feels like when they get set out to kind of do these fandom events or these channels, these things, they go, well, it'd be too obvious if we talked about comics. So what should we do? I know. Let's get the Marvel creative team out, and we'll have them play a game of kickball, and that'll be funny because that's a game for kids, but it'll be adults playing kickball, and we'll do a video on that, and then they'll eat hot dogs and talk about their favorite hot dog memories. It's like nobody cares. And again, it's kind of like the assistant editors month they used to do it at Marvel long, long ago. It was fun, sort of, once a year. It's awful if suddenly that was, all they did. I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad they canceled Fandome, to be honest. I don't think it was working out for them. I think it was largely unsuccessful. So I think it's reasonable that they would put it on the shelf. I don't think it had anything to do with somebody making a good decision about not spending money on something that was largely ineffective. I think it was all about the cost cutting and the merger with Discovery. But hey, I'll take it anyway. Are you going to miss Fandom this year? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think people should do with their multimedia content? Are you with me? They're overthinking this whole thing. Just keep it simple. Anyway, like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.